There's a common misconception in the market that new construction does not need an inspection, and that is not true. That can really lead to kind of some bad results in the long run. It is true that because it's new, hopefully there would be very little that would be wrong with it, and most builders are giving some sort of warranty, whether it's 1 year or 2 years that they are backing, or whether they buy a warranty for you. And from our experience, that's great, but there are still things that you will not realize are incorrect in your home, and that warranty will most likely be gone and run out before you know it. I know that sounds difficult to believe, that there would be something wrong that you would not know within a year or two, but it definitely happens. The number one place we see pretty major issues on a new home is the roof. That's not because the builder doesn't know how to build. It's nothing like that. It's because a lot of times they don't get on the roof, or they may look at it one time and they're not on it again. And sometimes the subcontractors who are getting up on the roof after the roof has been put on can scar up shingles. Sometimes the roof is just not installed correctly to begin with. Like, look at this example. There's no flashing on the chimney. That's a huge issue, and there's water running down it even before you can see it. The other issue we've seen before more than once is where the roof decking doesn't cover all the way over to the eave of the house. So there's actually a hole in that house right now where water is running in between the walls. I know you believe that you would notice that right away, but this example that I'm showing you where there's a hole in the roof, actually these people have lived there for 11 months. And we were coming back and doing a final inspection for them before their warranty ran out. They realized, oh, we probably should have done this inspection to begin with, so let's do it before the warranty's gone. And so they had been living there, and they didn't know that there was water leaking. They couldn't see the evidence of it yet, but surely it is in there. So this is one of the biggest examples I can show you of why you would not necessarily know you have an issue. We've also seen things like having a ridge vent in the roof, like this one, where it didn't get cut out. And so if you don't know what a ridge vent is, that's your ventilation for your roof. And having ventilation for your roof is super, super important, because if you don't, your roof is probably not gonna last but maybe half of what it should. It'll cook the roof and deteriorate very rapidly. And unfortunately, a lot of times you don't see the signs of that cooking roof until 7 to 8 years into it. And by that point, your new construction warranty is well gone. So these are some of the issues we find. In most houses, we don't find very much, but if we do, it can tend to be something like this. Sometimes we've seen things like the ductwork not being totally connected to the HVAC unit and things like that. So it is worth the money just to have it, and for the peace of mind to know that you're not going to, down the road, have to pay for some really big repairs. Don't let yourself be lulled into saving a few $100s thinking, well, this warranty is all I need. The other thing I would suggest, if you're buying the house during the construction phase or early on in the construction phase, would be to have what's called a pre-drywall inspection. And what that means is basically the house is built in the sense of the bones to the house are there. All the framing is done, the foundation is done, the rough electrical, the rough heating, the rough plumbing, all of that is already put into the house. So we can basically see the structure and make sure there's no major framing mistakes or anything else like that. I would suggest doing that. I know for us, we charge $150 to do a phase inspection, and we also give you a report. So you do have something in writing. If there are any defects that we see, it will be listed in there, and you can simply give your builder. You'll want to let the builder know if you're going to do inspections during the build process, just so they don't move past that point before you call for us. So for instance, if you get to the point where the house is framed and they're about to put insulation in, we don't want them to put the insulation and drywall in before we do the inspection. So letting them know what inspections you want to do as soon as possible is really important, including if you're going to do a final inspection. And if you're going to do a final inspection right before you go to closing, the house is completed, you want to make sure that you stipulate in the contract that the permanent power and water is onto the house. The reason you would want that is because if the permanent power and like the gas and the water aren't on, we may not be able to test all of the utilities in the house. So we may not be able to tell you if the gas works or the water works and so on. So that is also something that I encourage agents to make sure that if their client wants these inspections, especially the one at the end, that you want to make sure everything is completed and move-in ready, even has a certificate of occupancy if that is required in that area, so that you can have a full inspection and get all the information you need prior to closing.